just need to focus on me. Fucking light. Oh, it's so awkward when I do this. The last time I did a vlog was about a year and a half ago, and I said I was gonna do it every week. That was probably the biggest lie of 2017. I ended up not doing that vlog because life was just extremely busy for me. With prep, like all the jobs that I was working, I just didn't, I guess, have time to be recording everything I did. I have decided that I am going to do another vlog for this prep. I'm currently, how many weeks out am I? I think it's like 19 now for my next comp. I did end up competing in October, and then I went on to do a back-to-back prep to compete in the March. However, I had to pull out of that competition a week before stepping on stage due to some health issues. Yeah, basically my heart was fucked. My resting heart rate was 180 beats per minute. Normally it's supposed to be about 60, so yeah, it wasn't a good time. Today's vlog isn't actually about fitness. It's actually about something quite personal, and I guess if you follow me on social media and have done for a while, or watch my last vlog, you'd know that depression is something that I have dealt with for an extremely long time. And I've spoken before about, you know, wanting to commit suicide, or at least having the thoughts of maybe this would be better if I wasn't here. And in May of this year, I actually went through with that, and I did try and kill myself. So I'm not really sure where to start. I'm feeling a little bit, I don't know, all of a sudden there's like a heap of emotions that have come over me. 2017 was probably one of the best years of my life. I was happy. I was so content with life. Everything was going perfect for me. You know, it was just, I was surrounded by people who loved me. I was doing everything that I love doing in life. And, you know, my family and friends were all healthy and happy. And yeah, I was just really content. However, March of 2018, so this year, is kind of when everything went a little bit downhill for me. And I guess that started with, I got fired from a job. The reason I got fired from that job, I actually don't think was any fault of my own. I took stress leave for a few days to look after, I guess, not really look after, but be there for an old friend of mine whose family was going through quite a bit at the time. So, you know, I wanted to be there for them. Unfortunately now I don't speak to that family anymore, and yeah, it sucks. I've always been one of those people that I've got a huge heart, I guess, and when you put yourself out to people, you kind of expect them to treat you the same as what you treat them, or what you do for them, and everything like that. And I don't know, like, I guess everyone's different, and no one really, yeah, cares sometimes. So when I stopped working, I was, I don't know, just, I was you know, sleeping all day, training, whatever, just doing what I've always done, just not working. And I didn't realise at the time, but that's one of the things that contributed to me falling into a very deep depression. The next thing was pulling out of my comp. Unfortunately, I didn't stick with a coach that I know and trust. I think I'm very easily persuaded, I guess, and I went with a different coach and someone who didn't have my health or best interests at heart. Long story short, yeah, like I said, I ended up having some heart issues, and ended up not competing. That was a huge downfall for me. Not only had I had plans to compete twice in that that season, and then go and do Arnold's, which was and still is a huge dream of mine. I still went to both shows. I went to both shows that I was supposed to compete in and watch them, and it was torture. It was fucking horrible. Knowing that I was supposed to be on that stage and that I guess I failed myself. Yeah, it just wasn't a good time. Don't get me wrong, I loved watching people that I know and loved on stage and enjoying themselves, and yeah, but everything else was, I hated it. So after comp prep, I even though I didn't compete, I did still prep for 25 weeks after a 30-week prep. So I'd been, I guess, prepping for over a year, and I didn't get put on a reverse diet. Basically, reverse diet is something that your calories and your carbs and all those kind of things get added back into your nutrition slowly, so your body is not just like confused with all these different nutrients coming in that you're not used to. So I put on weight very, very quickly, because I mean, I should have known better to reverse diet for myself, but because my then coach said to me, oh, you don't need to reverse diet because you didn't compete, I was like, okay, no worries. So I ate whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. You know, I was eating ice cream daily because I could. I was still going to the gym. I wasn't doing any cardio. I was still lifting weights, but it wasn't like I was working towards something. It was just like, that was my daily routine, to go to the gym at some point. So personally, for me, going to the gym is like a mental thing. That's my time to myself. So, you know, I've always, no matter what state I was in, I would always go to the gym, whether I'm prepping for a comp or not. So, you know, I started getting extremely insecure within myself. I could visibly and physically feel that I had put on a lot of weight. The scales may not have said that, but it was visible. You know, in photos, I could see it in my face. My clothes didn't fit anymore. Yeah, I felt disgusting. I felt genuinely gross. And the insecurity started. I was in a relationship at the time, and to me, I was like the ugliest person in the world, and I thought, you know, why would anyone want me? Why, like, yeah. I think unless you've been through insecurities, you can't really explain what goes through your head, but the most stupid, like, situations come into your head, and you're like, this is going to happen to me because I'm gross. And that's what started happening, and yeah, I just very much hated myself. Yeah, the relationship, I think that took a bit of a strain to start with, the relationship, and then other things started, I guess, contributed to that, which started making the relationship break down. I don't want to make this vlog about that relationship at all, purely because, you know, it's my issue, it's the other person's issue, and I don't feel anyone needs to know what happened, what went on, except for the two of us. So I ended up getting a new job. It was part-time. It was like 3 days a week, and it was just like reception work, and see, it's coming back to the relationship again. There was just constant arguing, and then I think that made me doubt myself even more and become a little bit more insecure every single day. And yeah, so I was at this job for a week, and the suicidal thoughts were there for quite a while. I just didn't tell anyone. I hated my life. Okay, back. So yeah, as I said, the suicidal thoughts were there for a while. I kept everything to myself. I didn't tell anyone. I put on this brave face every single day. I smiled, I pretended that I was extremely happy and that nothing was actually wrong. To the point where I think I started to convince myself that I was fine. And yeah, there was not, yeah, it wasn't just like a spur of the moment thing. I planned the whole thing, and I'd been planning it for a while. So when I say I was in pain, it was like I could feel myself on the inside just slowly like wasting away. Like my insides were aching and hurting, my heart was hurting, and it was like putting on this brave face every day was just exhausting. Everyone would be asleep in the house and I'd stay awake until like 4 a.m. just thinking of what I could do to make everything better. And yeah, unfortunately, one night I did decide that that's what I was going to do. I didn't know when I was going to do it, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. But yeah. I feel a bit weird sharing my story. I don't want to do this for attention. I'm not doing it for people to feel sorry for me. I'm honestly doing it because I think there's like a stigma around mental health and people being depressed or having anxiety, and people just thinking that if you suffer from that kind of stuff that you're a weird person or you just sit at home and you cry. Like, no, everyone's a human being, and over 50% of people in Australia do suffer with some kind of mental illness. I think every single person in the world knows someone that is going through something. So I'm hoping that with me sharing my story and showing that I am strong and that it's good to talk about it, that it's going to make someone go out there, go and see a GP, or even just talk to a relative or a friend to say, this is what's happening in my life, this is what's going through my head, I need help. And I wish I did that. I wish I turned around and I spoke to people, regardless of who it was. Like, I could have gone to the doctor, I could have spoken to my mum, I could have spoken to anyone, and I guess I didn't want people to judge me. I didn't want people to think that anything was going on. I used to work in a hospital, so I know what the mental wards are like, and the fact that it's called a mental ward put me off. And I knew that if I told someone that these were the thoughts that were going through my head, that they were going to be like, you need to be admitted to the mental health unit. And the fact that I know what it was like, it depends what hospital you go to, but you know, you've got people in mental health institutions or hospitals, and they can range from depression and anxiety, they can go all the way up to schizophrenia, suicide attempts, drug and alcohol abuse, and it's just all these people in one place. And I know personally I did not want to go there. I knew that if I went there, like, in my head, that my life was going to be over, and I knew that people were going to be judging me and be like, did you hear she got put in a mental institution? And I just could not, I didn't want to deal with that. So I'm going to share my story anyway, but some of the things that I'm going to say, that people closest to me don't know it to this extent. They don't know what I did, how I planned it, and yeah, I'm really sorry if this upsets anyone, but I just hope that my story is gonna help. So the day that I did it, I guess, I woke up early, I went to work, and I only had work until 1 o'clock that day. By the time I'd finished work, I received a text message off someone, and I'm not going to say who it was, and I'm not going to say what the text message said, but the text message basically just, I think it was just the last straw for me. It was like, you've got nothing to live for anymore. And it's so crazy how I remember it so vividly. I walked out of work and was walking to my car, and it was like in my head I was like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it now. And I vomited in the car park, and I don't know if it was like a scared thing or an adrenaline thing, but I hadn't even, like, I'd hardly eaten that day, and yeah, just anything that was in my system was vomited up. I got home and I literally sat on the edge of the bed and just thought, like, what should I write in my suicide note? I did start writing a note. I haven't told anyone this, but in my phone, like in the notes section, I wrote what songs I wanted to be played at my funeral. I wrote a letter to my niece and my nephew. They're both 2 years old. Sorry. And it's so crazy. I can talk about this with anyone as to what I went through, and then as soon as I start thinking about my niece and nephew and my family in general, it just fucks me up when I can't believe I ever did something that was going to jeopardize everyone's happiness, because I was so selfish. And I hate it when people say that suicide is selfish. It is selfish, it's extremely selfish, but the last thing going through your head is everyone else's pain. All you care about is your pain and stopping the pain that you are going through. Yeah, so I wrote in my notes a letter to my niece and my nephew, and it basically just explained why I wouldn't be there and why I wouldn't be able to watch them grow. And it was something that I didn't want them to see until they were about 18 or at an age that they could understand, I guess. Yeah. So my means of suicide, I didn't want to be in pain, as stupid as that sounds. I wanted it to be as painless and as quick as possible. So I decided on an overdose. I'm sorry if this offends anyone or this hurts anyone's feelings, but I did think of other means of self-harm. But I didn't want to cut myself. I didn't want to dismember myself. I didn't want to make me look any different than what I would have been when I was alive. So, so that whoever found me knew it was me. So yeah, I decided to overdose. As I was writing my letter, I was just taking handfuls and handfuls of tablets. I was just taking tablets that I found. Anything in tablet form I was taking. You know, it got to a point I was walking around my bedroom and just grabbing any tablets that they were, like Nurofen, things like that. And yeah, and I was still writing my letter, and I actually did make a phone call to the person I was living with and told them what I was doing. I didn't tell them because I wanted them to stop me. I told them because I guess I just wanted to reach out to someone for one last time and just explain what was happening, and that, you know, I guess tell my family that I love them. So it was about halfway through my letter where all these tablets started to, I guess, have some sort of effect on me. it started getting, it was like sounds were starting to get muffled. My vision, it was like turning into tunnel vision. Like I could see the pen and the paper, but I couldn't see anything else around me. It's the most bizarre feeling ever, and it was, I don't know, I wasn't scared, I wasn't nervous, I was kind of going with it, and yeah, I just was accepting it, and the more it was happening, the more tablets I would take. Next thing I know, the person I live with did come home and took me to his car, and basically was trying to get me to throw up. I don't actually remember calling my mum, but at some point in my stay I had called my mum and basically just, I guess, told her what I was doing as well. So by the time I got into this person's car, I was quite limp. It's like I wasn't there anymore. And then my mum pulled up. And it wasn't until I seen my mum that I came to the realisation of what I'd done. She didn't comfort me. She hit me in the face. And when I tell people that, they're just like, oh, that's brutal. But yeah, she was just so, I've never seen her like that. I also didn't know that my mum was babysitting my niece. So she ran over too and grabbed my leg, and it was bizarre. It's like she knew exactly what was happening, and she just kind of cuddled my leg and turned around to my mum and said, "Why is Auntie Demi crying?" And then I hadn't cried once this whole time, and I was in tears. Like, the realisation of everything came to me, and I realised I didn't want to die, and I didn't want to go, and I got so scared. I got so scared that this was the last time I was going to see some of the people that I loved. So I got rushed to the hospital, and it was actually the hospital I used to work at. So the first doctor to see me, I knew extremely well. I had a few things done to me, lots of tests, I guess. I was in the resus area, just in case my heart stopped beating. And yeah, I guess they would have been ready to be there to resuscitate me. I then got moved to the actual emergency unit, and then after that got moved to ED admissions, because they did want to admit me into hospital, and then following that I got moved to a psychiatric ward. I only actually stayed in the psychiatric ward for one night, purely because on my notes the doctors did say that I was very remorseful of what I had done, and they didn't actually see me as a threat to myself anymore, so they allowed me to be released. The condition of me being released was that I didn't go back to the house that I did try and kill myself at. I had to go and live with my mum. So yeah, so I moved in with my mum. I was on medication, lots of medication. All the tablets that I take ultimately gave me stomach ulcers, so I did have to go on tablets for that. And even now I do get the burning sensation in my stomach, so basically I've fucked up my stomach lining for life. But if that's the only thing that I mean, the only consequence, sorry, that I got from this whole ordeal, then so be it. The weeks following the whole thing, I couldn't drink, eat or sleep. I would go to sleep at stupid hours and wake up extremely early. I was getting about 2 hours sleep a day. And unfortunately, I do still struggle with insomnia. It's not that I think about things, but when I can be like so tired, and I get into bed and it's just, I just can't sleep. So yeah, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. It wasn't that I was starving myself, I just never had an appetite. I ended up losing 10 kilos in 2 weeks. I looked physically sick. I think if anyone seen me, they knew something was wrong with me, and you know, it wasn't my intention to be like that. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't bring myself to eat anything, and if I did, I'd be sick afterwards. I got extremely bad social anxiety, really bad social anxiety. I couldn't even go to get groceries on my own or with my mum or anyone else. I literally could not leave the house. As soon as I'd take a step out the front door, I would start shaking, I'd start hyperventilating, crying, and I'd run back inside. This lasted like a long time. And like, I look back at it now, and you know, it's just like, I can't believe I was ever at that stage in my life where I was such a different person to who I know myself as, I guess. I ultimately had to start seeing a psychologist and a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist was a private psychiatrist, a lot of money. And yeah, it was, I guess he was the person that altered all my medication. When I say medication, I mean antidepressants. I have spoke in my previous vlog about being on antidepressants. Basically, I was taken off the ones that I was on and put on a much higher dosage of a different brand, and personally, they are working extremely well. Yeah, like I said, I started seeing a psychiatrist, a psychologist, sorry. She was amazing. I would see her once a week, sometimes twice a week. It wasn't that she was like, oh, it's hard to explain. I think I was going in to see a professional that wasn't looking at me as in a judgmental way. She kind of like chipped away at every single thing that I'd been through in my life. You know, from when I was a kid, from when I was overweight as a kid, from when I was bullied, being a middle child, like losing a baby, bad breakups, just everything, absolutely everything that I've been through in my life, she chipped away at and kind of came back to me, like trying to kill myself, and was like, you've never found closure of all these different tiny things, and it all basically added up to the point where my brain and my heart had given up on me and was just like, you can't handle any more hurt. I'm definitely one of those people that puts on a brave face, I guess, but yeah, I didn't realise that I was still holding doubt and holding really, I guess, bad thoughts and emotions about certain things that had happened in my whole life. Like, she went back to when I was like a baby, you know? So I guess to be able to get closure in things that I didn't know I even needed closure in was really satisfying, I guess. When I started seeing my psychologist, she basically asked me what I took, yeah, the amounts that I took, and I told her all the tablets that I took, and I told her how much I took of each thing. Like, I still know what I took. I still know, yeah, what I took first, what it was that fucked me up. And she basically said that her whole career as a psychiatrist, I'm not sure, she had worked in mental hospitals, and she said with the amounts of tablets that I took, and the tablets that I did take, that I should be dead. She just said she knows of people, had patients that had taken the same tablets that I took, but in smaller doses, and they did actually end up losing their lives. So hearing that was a major wake-up call. That was like, I definitely wasn't supposed to die that day. I've definitely got an angel looking after me, you know. I've got a second chance now. So the weeks following me, I guess, my ordeal, I had a few breaking points. It took a while for me to be able to drive my car again. I started smoking. I was smoking like a pack a day, so 25 cigarettes. The thought of cigarettes actually makes me feel sick, so I'd just literally sit in the garden and have a cigarette, finish that one, light another one, have a cigarette. And yeah, I did end up having to go back to hospital at one point, because I did start getting the thoughts again. But I wasn't like, I'm gonna do it again. It was like these voices, without sounding crazy, schizophrenia, whatever, it was like I was kind of telling myself, like, what I was putting everyone through with me trying to get better was just ridiculous. And once again, I thought that the world would be better without me. Wanted all the pain to stop. Didn't want to be here. So I didn't try anything. I didn't try and kill myself again. I called one of my best friends and basically said to her, look, my whole family's at work. I think my mum was in China at the time. My dad was at work. My sister, everyone was at work. She was the only person I knew that wasn't working that day. And I basically just said, can you please come and get me? I need to go to the hospital. So she came to the hospital. We sat in there for, I think it was about 8 hours I was there for. And I ended up, she has kids, so she needed to go home. She needed to cook dinner. But she didn't want to leave me, and so I had called my dad and asked my dad to come and sit with me. And so when my dad got there, my friend left, and then the doctors came through, and they basically, I think it was at this point where I kind of accepted that I might have actually needed to be admitted into hospital properly. The doctor actually came into me though and said the environment that was going on within the hospital and the mental institution would have made me a lot worse. It was basically just alcoholics and drug addicts that were in the mental health, and he just said basically, if you go in there, you're not going to get any better, you're going to get worse, and you're going to be back at square one. So I decided then and there with my dad that we'd go home. So we went home, and I just tried to deal with it as best as possible. It's so hard to explain how much you can cry without wanting to cry or even needing to cry. My skin, like under my eyes, was so chapped. It was like red raw and would bleed sometimes from me rubbing them, and the like salt in my tears would aggravate it. My eyes were so puffy that I couldn't see it sometimes because like I couldn't open my eyes fully. Yeah, I remember the day that I actually went a full day without crying, and it was like this little achievement that no one understood why I was so happy. And the whole ordeal was pretty, I guess, horrible. Seeing my family and friends in so much pain over something that I'd selfishly done was horrible. But I lost a lot of friends through this whole thing. You know, there was a point where my so-called best friend messaged me and said, next time you try and kill yourself, do it properly. So yeah, like trying to rebuild my life again, and I guess try and work out who is still my friend, who who's there for me, who's not there for me. It's been pretty horrible. I've gone through things this year mentally that I don't think a lot of adults have. So yeah, when I was trying to, I guess, get better, in my head, everything, like, I didn't care about anyone else. I didn't care about anything else except for me. And I was like, why aren't these people here for me? Why am I having to contact these people? And, you know, I'll be completely honest, some people were actually there for me who I hadn't spoken to in a long time, but I don't know if it was like they just wanted to show face or what, but after a couple of days, weeks, they drifted off again. And I think there was quite a few rumours that were spread about me, and you know, I got told that I was being trying to play a victim, I guess. People were saying things like that I was making the whole thing up to try and get sympathy. It was really weird. Like, I was getting messages of one person and then getting like the same kind of message off a different person, like almost word for word, and it was just so obvious that people were talking about me. And like one day I woke up and I was just like, you know what, fuck this, like, fuck everyone, basically. I literally have like a handful of close friends that I can count like on one hand, males and females. This doesn't include my family, but yeah, I think that's why this point in time, like, if you meet me now, I've always had like a resting bitch face, and I've always spoke my mind, but me as a person now, I'm so strong and I'm just straight up savage, you know. If you do something, you say something that I don't like, I'll tell you. If you're bringing negative vibes into my life, if you are putting my happiness like on the line, I'm just so down for cutting people off now if they threaten my happiness. And yeah, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but I think in my head I got another chance of life. I don't want to waste it with people who don't deserve to know me or my friendship or my love. So that's what I started doing. So my mum moved to Gold Coast not long after this whole ordeal. She did try and put it on hold, but it was something that she'd wanted to do for a long time. So I just basically said, like, go, you know, I might follow you. And ultimately that's what I did. I literally booked a flight and was a one-way flight and was gone the week after. So I left Perth. I'm now currently in Gold Coast, and I've been here for, I think it was like from the start of August, so, and we're in October, so yeah, almost 3 months, I guess. 2 months? Oh God, I'm so bad at maths. I like it here. To me, I didn't come here with the intention of that I'm gonna live here forever. To me, I came here to get away from life. I've come here for a break. I came here to focus on myself, and I definitely think that's what I've done. You know, I've done a little bit of traveling in the eastern states, purely because in Perth, you know, it's so far away from everything. You're like 5 hours or whatever to go over to Sydney or Melbourne, those kind of places. So while I'm here and it's like an hour's trip, I have been like, I guess I've just been living my life. And yeah, I'm just having fun. Like, I've got no room for negativity in my life anymore. I'm so against people speaking bad about other people now. I'm so against bullying. I'm so against bitchiness and being harsh and judging. I guess like the whole ordeal really opened my eyes to a lot. And yeah, I feel like I've got this second chance at life. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I want to be, but I'm just so grateful that I am still here. And the people that were there for me from start to finish, you know, through everything, I'm literally forever in their debt. I I owe them my life, quite literally. I'm so happy to still be here. I'm so happy that I get to be alive and I get to see my niece and nephew grow up, and honestly I see my life so much better without people who I thought would be in my life for a very long time. I thought these people that cut me off, I guess, were people that would be at my wedding when I get married, you know, and to know that they could give up on me so easily when I was quite literally screaming for help was quite upsetting. So yeah, I guess, you know, I wanted to share that story because I don't know, I just don't think people see suicide and mental illnesses as an everyday thing for a lot of people. You know, so many people don't speak out when I definitely think they should, and I'm hoping if at least one person watches this video and decides to go and see a professional or at least talk to someone, then my job's done. You know, I don't wish depression or anxiety or suicidal thoughts on anyone. I just hope this can change the mind of quite a few people. I'm happy to take questions if anyone wants to share thoughts, whatever, come at me. But yeah, I'm just very grateful to be here. So thank you for watching, and I'm really sorry if I was in my feels, and you know, I'm sorry that everyone had to see my ugly face while I was crying. I don't know where those tears came from because I'm so in a good place right now. I'm so happy with life, and this is the first time I've cried in a long time. So